All right, a big story here we've been following for a long time. A judge issuing a strong rebuke to DA George Gascón today, issuing an order to restrict him from carrying out some of his progressive reforms.
Yeah, this comes as a result of a lawsuit filed against Gascón by the union representing his own attorneys. Bill Malugin joining us with this story tonight. Bill.
This was a big setback for George Gascón and a big win for the deputy DA union. They had sued Gascón, claiming that prosecutors were being forced to lie and violate the law in court under Gascón's directives, and today a judge agreed with them.
We are extremely happy with the judge's ruling today. I think a lot of deputy DAs are very relieved.
Eric Sedal is vice president of the Los Angeles Association of Deputy District Attorneys. That's the union representing roughly 800 prosecutors in LA DA George Gascón's office. The union scored a major win in their lawsuit against Gascón on Monday. That's when Judge James Chalfant ruled that some of Gascón's directives violate California law.
One of the problems with Mr. Gascón's directives is it kind of put us in this impossible position. Do we follow his directives or do we follow the law? And the court clearly said, well, you need to follow the law.
At the center of the issue was California's three strikes law, which was passed overwhelmingly by California voters in the 1990s. On Gascón's first day in office, he issued this special directive, banning his prosecutors from charging strikes. In it, Gascón says it's his opinion that the three strikes law is unconstitutional, and he began forcing his prosecutors to read this lengthy statement in court supporting his opinion. On Monday, in a lengthy ruling, Judge Chalfant said Gascón's directive is illegal, writing in part, quote, "The district attorney's disregard of the three strikes law plead and prove requirement is unlawful, as is requiring deputy DAs to seek dismissal of pending sentence enhancements without a lawful basis. The special directive statement that prosecutors are required to read in court is legally inaccurate and incomplete, and reading this statement in court without correction is unethical." Judge Chalfant then granted a preliminary injunction against Gascón, which will restrict him from refusing to prosecute strikes effective immediately. The judge also ruled that Gascón can no longer drop special circumstance allegations on pending cases without a legal basis to do so, also effective immediately.
Mr. Gascón said, you know what, I'm going to ignore all the voters of the state of California and implement a policy based upon what my own theory of the law should be, or my own personal policy preferences. And the court said, you can't do that. You have to follow the law.
Having to go into court and lie and not tell the truth and not follow the law is really, really hard for a prosecutor.
Deputy DA John Hatami has been one of Gascón's most vocal critics and has refused to follow Gascón's directives. He says the judge's ruling is vindication.
For me personally, to have a judge get up there and say, you know what? He was telling you, John, and he was telling all those DAs to go into court and do something that was wrong, something that was illegal, something that was unethical. You're right. You were right to fight. You were right to say that I'm not doing that. You were right to say that that was wrong. Yeah, I mean, on a personal note, just for me personally, like it made my heart feel good because I was like, oh, thank goodness, judge actually saw it and saw through, I think, a lot of the I consider them lies that the DA has been putting out there.
Gascón responded to the ruling Monday night with a statement saying in part, quote, "I never had any illusions as to the difficulty and challenges associated with reforming a dated institution steeped in systemic racism. My directives are a product of the will of the people, including survivors of crime and a substantial body of research that shows this modern approach will advance community safety. While Judge Chalfant's ruling does not impact the vast majority of my directives, the court did rule specifically on my three strikes policy. Our legal team will be filing a notice of appeal. Until the appeal is decided, my office will adjust its policies to be consistent with this ruling." And the judge didn't rule entirely against George Gascón today. He said that Gascón does have the discretion to not charge sentencing enhancements on cases in the future. In West LA, Bill Malugin, Fox 11 News.